Welcome. Welcome this week, new week, Monday. Always feels great, at least to me. My name is Alexander Tõnis, and I'm your captain for this 10-day journey, and we're today at the day number 8. So time really flies. So we only have 3 days left. But before we start, let's get us ourselves here. So I'm not sure if you're sitting or standing, but if you're sitting, just feel your chair for a moment. How does it feel? Does it feel soft? Is it hard? Does it support your back? Are your feet nicely on the ground? How does the ground feel? Does it feel solid? Maybe it's a bit shaky. Is it cold around you? Is the air dry? Is there any smells in the air? So let's start. So I hope you had time over the weekend also to look at the emails. So we didn't have the calls. I just wanted with few sentences also touch upon the topics which happened over the weekend. On Saturday, which was day number 6, the task was to do a little bit of journaling. So, and even to start a journal if you already didn't have one. And what I wanted to say maybe about the journaling was that the trick with journaling is really to start small and start slow. It actually takes quite the time to develop a habit to journal regularly. And for me, the trick is that to start writing things down, for example, just how I feel. Or what I also have done is just to write down in the evening 3 things out of the day which I liked, which brought me joy. So this also helps me to keep the focus on the positive. And even this is already journaling. And I in the beginning, I really only had 1 line for each day. So it doesn't take much to build a habit. But the idea behind the journaling is indeed that you kind of take like a third-person view on your own life. And this is very helpful to see patterns, to see some places you have been stuck, but also to claim the joy which you have in your life and in your days. And yesterday, which was day number 7, the topic was to take responsibility for the people you have in your life. And maybe it's a bit abstract concept to understand, but the idea behind it is fairly simple. And the idea behind it is to make a conscious choice about the relationships you have in your life. So many of the relationships we have kind of happened. We believe that we didn't choose our parents, we cannot choose our relatives, which is true in a sense, but you can choose whether to have a relationship or not. And if you have chosen to have the relationship, then also the next step is to take the responsibility for that relationship on your part or on your half of the relationship. And what that very often means that if the relationship is going well and there's a good connection and you can open up and share, there's not really a lot you need to do. You just need to enjoy it and maybe invite those people more often into your life, either to visit or just have a conversation or send messages on WhatsApp or Facebook every now and then. But if you feel that there's not something not working in the relationship, but you still make a choice to have that person in your life, then it is your responsibility to make that relationship work for you. So you don't need to take the responsibility to make it work for the other person. However, your part you still need to do if it's your choice to have that relationship. So this is what is meant by taking responsibility for having these people in your life. And it's also the next step out from it is a mirror concept, which we don't really have a lot of time to go into during these 10 days. Actually, we don't go into it at all, but we do go into it in the Cocoonity school. So working with mirrors is actually a large part of getting yourself to know better. And people around us is nothing but the mirror from our own behavior. So this is what is behind the concept of taking responsibility for having people in your life. And today, the day number 8, which is when very close to the finish line. The mission for today is to allow the differences of males and females into your life. And this is a very controversial topic, as you might already feel or have experienced in your life, because the general social conditioning says that there is no difference. And men can do whatever women can do, and women can do whatever men can do. And this is true, because in essence, all of us have 2 halves within ourselves, just as we have 2 halves of the brain. There's left side and there's right side. And both sides have their own function. One side is more creative, one is more practical. One side is actually, the right side is taking control over the left side of the body, and the left side is taking control over the right side of the body. And we both, all of us, we need both sides of the brain. And same is with, let's say, manly and womanly functions within our life. So all of us have it within their lives anyways. However, if you observe the world around you, you certainly have noticed that there's general behaviors which you can admit to men, and there's general behaviors you can admit to women, and also certain expectations you have towards them. So there is a difference. It's actually quite interesting if you let's say look at specific, like where do these differences come into realization or into practical life. If we choose, let's say, agreeableness, then general population, so there's the distribution is quite similar to any other, let's say, any other area of life which we choose. General distribution is that most people are fairly similar in terms of being averagely agreeable. But now if you look across men and across women, then women tend to be slightly more agreeable in average than men. So if I pick 2 random people out of the street, where either men or women, where agreeableness is very similar, if I could pick them completely randomly. However, if I pick 100 women and if I pick 100 men, then in average, women are more agreeable and men are less agreeable. The difference is very tiny in average, but it definitely exists. But how does that then manifest itself in real life is that this little difference in averages makes a difference that out of 100 persons who are in prison, 99 are men. So even a tiny difference actually in only one aspect of life, which is agreeableness, plays a huge role in an outcome. And same is if we take an example from empathy. Women tend to be more empathetic than men. Again, in average, only slightly more empathetic, but the result of it is that 90% of nurses worldwide are women. So these tiny differences actually play quite a huge role and quite a big difference within practical life. And now if I put it also, let's say, more into generalization, then you can say that men historically are the ones who went out for hunting. Females were the one who stayed home and cared for the home. And today it's still very similar because it comes naturally. And that also means that the men or male attention is very much geared towards outside, where the females are more geared towards inside. And what that means in practical terms is that men are mostly and very much geared towards action, as women are more towards feeling and talking. And that's why you see in most romantic relationships, it's usually the females who say, hey, we need to talk. And I'm sure you have noticed it. This comes because this comes naturally to women to talk about feelings, emotions, what's happening within their lives and within the relationship, it doesn't come so naturally for men, because men are always in their head outside hunting, looking for new opportunities, geared towards action. However, all of us are capable of taking any role which we choose. And that's the idea also of today's lesson, is to be aware that there's a difference, and then you can make a conscious choice. Because every time where you go in outside world to hunt, and going on a job, for example, means hunting, you know that you're doing it out of a male energy. Now, if we tend to home, we make it beautiful, we talk about how we feel, how our day was, for example. In that particular example, we are now operating out of female energy or out of female polarity, or however you want to call it. So the idea is to have a conscious choice how we do it. And then in general, men feel more fulfilled, more happy if their days are more filled with things which they consider manly. It doesn't have to be like 99%, but it's enough, it's 51%. And same for females and women, they tend to feel more fulfilled, more happy if at least 51% of their day they operate out of female feelings, out of female polarity. So that's the idea. This concept for me took quite a while to actually understand and integrate into my life. And the reason is that the social conditioning is very much pushing us to be the same. So thank you for today.